Hey everyone. Today we're going to be building a completely custom watch for about $100. I'm still really new to watchmaking and watches in general, so I figured before I make any attempts to repair or restore any complicated movements, I'd have some fun with building a watch that I can use as a daily wear. I don't own any mechanical watches yet that I want to wear. The only ones that I own so far are cheaper or smaller watches that I got to just tinker around with and learn. For this project, I'm looking to essentially design my own kit by pairing up parts that I found on eBay, including the movement, the dial, the hands, the case, and the strap. I work as a software engineer and I don't need to dress up too formally on a daily basis, so for this watch, I'm aiming for something casual yet still a little bit eye catching. Also, while I'm trying to get something functional out of this project, the main goal here for me is to learn as much as I can and to share what I'm learning along the way here on the channel. Also, this is only my second video for this channel, and I gotta say I was not prepared in the slightest for the response that the first video got. I want to give an enormous thank you to everyone who's shown an interest already. It's been truly amazing so far, and I hope we can just continue this in future videos, learning and growing together. I would love for this channel to be a place where anyone can ask both the advanced and the newbie questions without fear, so please feel free to share your knowledge, questions, and advice in the comments so that all of us can benefit from it. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's get on to the build. First up is the movement. I went with the NH35. I got the official Seiko one. It was $45, and you can find them a little bit cheaper if you go with the Chinese knockoff ones. I think you can get them for about $30 right now. I wanted something that was reliable and easily available in case I was to horribly screw something up. Next up is the case. I picked up what I think is the smallest case for this movement. It's a 36 millimeter, really low profile. It should fit the NH35 movement right away. So the crown should fit and the movement itself should be nice and snug. And this was $20. Sticking with the basic theme here, I went with a black dial with white hour markers. There are lots and lots of options for this movement as far as dials and hands are concerned. I went with this one. You can pick whatever you would like. This one was about $10. Along with this, when I ordered my case, I had the option to add a dial and hands as well. I figured why not? It would give me a little bit of options, but I didn't end up going with this dial or with these hands. I did like them, but I just didn't think they matched what I was looking for. These chrome colored hands with the white loom are the ones that I ended up actually purchasing. They were $15. I thought they looked really nice and I thought that they would go really well with this dial. Okay, now that we have all of the pieces listed out, let's get the case open and start assembling this. The first thing that we're going to need to do as far as assembly is concerned is fit this dial to this movement. The dial that I purchased fits a couple of movements, the NH35, NH36, and a couple of others. You can see both dials that I had ordered, they have multiple sets of dial feet on them, and those are set for different movements. What I need to do here is figure out which set of dial feet fit this movement and trim off all of the rest. So I'm going to just figure out where this should sit. They need to match these two holes here. That's where the dial feet are going to fit in. There are no dial screws for this. It's just a pressure fit into that little plastic movement ring. And after getting it roughly lined up, it looks like it's going to be the top dial foot on the right hand side and the bottom dial foot on the left hand side. Now that we know that, I'm going to go ahead and use my side snips here to trim off the other remaining dial feet. So there are two on the left and two on the right that I'm going to remove. And after getting all of the dial feet removed, I'm just going to check to make sure that we didn't leave any sharp edges or raised areas from the side snips. It didn't get perfectly smooth, so I'm going to take a little bit of sandpaper and take care of that. I'm just going to use some 600 and then some 1000 grit. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we don't want any raised areas or sharp areas when we put this on the movement. Before putting it on the movement, it's a good idea to make sure there's no residual residue or shavings or anything else. So hit it with some Rodico or microfiber cloth or something just to make sure that it's nice and clean. We don't want any of that getting pushed down into the movement when we push this on. And now that we have the extra dial feet removed, this should slot right on really easily. And there it goes. Nice satisfying little click on both sides. And you can see on the underside that it is coming through. You can see where it's can't come through all the way on both sides. Now, getting the stem out of here is actually really easy, but there is a trick to it. It only works when you're not in the time setting mode. When you have the stem pulled out to where you're in the time setting, this little lever here is actually hidden. It pulls in and you cannot push the little tab down to release the winding stem. Now to get the stem out, all you have to do is push down right here on this little tab and you'll see it lift right off. So hold that down and this will come right out. And after I remove that, you'll see that I put it right back in because I forgot a very important step. The next thing to do is to pull the stem out and set the time until the date kicks over. That will make sure that we are right at the midnight mark so that when we are putting the hands on, and we also put them at the midnight mark, that the date actually kicks over at that time and doesn't kick over at some random time during the day or in the afternoon. Now I have some options here. I have this set of hands and I have this set of hands. I think I'm going to go with the ones on the right. I really like them quite a bit, so let's go with those. The easiest way that I've found so far to hold the hands while I'm placing them is to stick them with a piece of Rodico, and then I can hold them really gently. I'm not pinching them with the tweezers or tweaking them in any way. It's just holding them nice and still so that I can get them onto the movement. And then I'm going to just secure it just the slightest bit with the tweezers first before I get it under this little hand presser tool. I picked this little tool up on Amazon for I think 12 or 15 bucks. It also came with a Presto tool, which I wanted, so I figured even if I didn't use this tool, that the Presto tool would come in handy. And it has. I'm not sure whether or not I like this thing, but I figured since I'd have it, I would use it. Now, if your watch doesn't have a date, it doesn't really matter where you place the hour hand as long as it's on an hour. But if it does, along with setting the date so that it kicks over at the hour, you want to make sure that you are setting your hour and your minute hand right at 12 o'clock. So I'm trying to do my best to get that as close as possible. And if I need to make any tweaks, I'll do it before it's really pressed down. And now that it is pressed down, I'm just going to give it a little test, make sure that it feels good, it doesn't feel too tight, feels like it's moving around pretty well. And let's kick it over to the next date and see how close we are. That looks pretty good to me. So let's get the minute hand on there now too. And it's pretty much the same process here with the minute hand. I have sped this one up. I was trying to keep as much of it in real time as possible, but I fumbled around with this guy for quite a while until I got him kind of centered. So you can see all of that happening in, I think this is 10 times speed. But once I got everything aligned, it was still relatively easy to press down. I was just being very, very OCD about making sure that it was lined up perfectly. And same as the hour hand, once I got it on there, I give it a quick test, make sure that it kicks over right when I'm expecting it to, right at midnight, and that's pretty close. I'm happy with that. Now let's get the second hand on. This one is much, much smaller. You need to be much more careful and just really patient. I was having a little bit of trouble with this. I was also having a little bit of trouble filming it while doing this. If I had normal magnification that I would use when doing this, I think it would have gone a little bit more smoothly, but it is what it is. And as I'm fighting to get this on here, I just keep looking at the seconds hand and I'm wondering if it would look better with the red one from the other set. So let's give that a shot. This one gave me just about the same amount of trouble as the other one did, but it was also a little bit more easy to see, so I got it on there a little bit easier. And I like that. I think it gives it just the right amount of pop. I don't know if everyone else will like this, but I like it quite a bit. let's give it a quick test to make sure that it's seated correctly and that the minute or hour hands aren't going to foul it when they're moving around. Whoa, I'm glad we tested that. That was a little unexpected. I don't think this is on all the way. I think the second hand is just dipping down a little too hard. So let's get it seated a little bit more properly. There we go. That's more what I was expecting to see. This is looking good now. Now that I have the hands on here, I want to get it in the case, but I don't even want to push it down on the cushion here. So I'm just kind of bracing it with my fingers, trying to get the lever pressed and get the stem out. If somebody has a better way to do this or some advice on it, maybe some other tool to use, maybe a more recessed movement holder or something else, just let me know in the comments. All right, the stem is out and it's time to get it in the case. And going into this as carefully as I can, trying to get it lined up with where the stem is going to fit into it, but we can always rotate it a little bit once it's inside anyway. And I sped this up too. I went out of frame a little bit, but all I was trying to do was get the movement a little bit more seated in the case. And as I go through the next couple of steps, it will seat itself and get in there a little bit more properly. All right, we are so close yet so far. The last step, the last major step, is to get the stem in there, but one that will actually fit the crown and the case. The movement came with two stems. The first one that I showed there was the one that it was in there with that little plastic crown. The one that I'm attempting to get in here now is much longer. It has a much larger set of threads, and this is the one that we're going to use to get the crown fitted. And the overall process here is really simple. All we're going to do is get it seated all the way, and we'll get the crown on, and we'll see how much we need to remove so that the crown seats itself perfectly. And we obviously don't want to take too much off, or we will need a new stem. I don't have a new stem. I'm going to take this really slowly. I'm going to take off a little bit less than I should every time and just slowly inch up to it. Now I got the crown on here for the first time, and you can see there is quite a comically large amount sticking out. This can accommodate a much larger case, but I was going for basically the smallest case possible. And as we trim this, you'll see that I actually do trim it to almost the smallest amount possible. I'm just going to take a quick measurement here from the edge of the case to the edge of the crown, and we'll see that that's about 9.4 millimeters. I'm going to go a lot shorter than that on the first go. I'm going to take about 7 millimeters off and see how it looks from there. But the process is just going to be the same. It's just going to be taking off less and less every time. And now I'm lining the threads of the stem up with my calipers, and I'm going to set the mark at around 7.5 millimeters. I'm going to start there, and as I said before, I'm just going to work my way up to this. I don't want to take too much off and then be stuck with something that's either too tight or completely unusable. Now I'm again just going to use my trusty side snips and take the largest portion of this off that I can, that I feel comfortable taking off. And after that, to make sure that I don't do any damage to the threads on the crown itself, I'm just going to take a file and take the burr off of the threads here. Okay, we got everything fitted back on here again, and you can see it's still a large amount, but it's not nearly as much as what it was before. So now it's time to pop this out and rinse and repeat until we have the appropriate fit. And now that we have the stem trim to size, we can get that back in and give it a quick test. Make sure that the time still sets freely and that nothing feels too tight, and then we can get the crown screwed on. It's also time to get the case back on, so I'm putting that on just loosely for now, and then we can get to the strap. While looking for straps that match the lug size of the case, I came across one that was silicone on the underside and leather on the top. I really liked this. I thought it would give me the best of both worlds where we would have the comfort of silicone, but still the nice sleek look of leather. I've been wearing it for about a week so far with this band, and it's been great. It's really comfortable. I'm not noticing any wear and tear on the leather so far. But even if it is, this only was $8, so it would be an easy replacement or upgrade if I decide to in the future. Let's get these spring bars out of the way and then we can get the strap itself installed. Another nice feature about the strap that I picked is that it has little clips instead of these spring bars to install it into a watch really easily. All you gotta do is press it in with your fingernail and it makes installing these a breeze. And this is looking great, except I realized that I put these on backwards. So let's get these on the other way and we will be good to go. And here we are. We are looking really great. There's only a couple more things that need to be done here before we can call this completely finished. The first thing to do is to get the crown installed a little bit more permanently. I'm going to use some blue Loctite, and this will make sure that we don't spin this off of the stem when we're unscrewing the crown from the case or when we're doing anything else like setting the time. Since I have it, I'm going to apply a little bit of DX paste here, just a little bit of grease on the stem before getting it permanently installed. The very last thing to do here is to get the back case gasket on. When the case arrived for me, I was inspecting all of the parts, and the gasket itself was twisted and kinked inside the case, and I had to send a message to the seller. They were really great in replacing it and sent me a replacement, no problem. All I need to do is make sure that that's seated properly, and we will get the case back screwed on. I do this very gently, make sure that it still feels smooth, and everything feels perfect. And here we are, the completed watch. I'm not sure how well it comes through the camera, but this dial is gorgeous, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. There will be links to all of the parts that I had purchased in the description of this video here. Please keep in mind that the listings or prices may have changed since I posted this video, but everything should be relatively easy to find on eBay, especially for an NH35 movement. Thank you so much for coming along with me today on this build. I had a blast putting this together, and I hope you enjoyed it too. If you like this video, please leave a like, and as always, please feel free to share any comments, advice, or criticisms. I'll have more watch builds, restoration videos, and other stuff coming, so please subscribe if you want to see more.